Thank you guys for the invitation. So my talk is called Fighting with Autism. I'll just start from the beginning. Why should you guys listen to me? What the hell have I done? So these are the three things I've done that are kind of what I'm known for. 7 years apart, which is crazy how long these things take. It all began, I'm 49 years old. I was born in Mexico City. Yeah. I was just another kid from Mexico, and autism superpowers, and I had no idea. My father was an architect, my mom very bohemian. I believe my dad was on the spectrum, but he was never tested. Pinocchio was the first movie I saw in a movie theater, and that really affected me when they killed little Pinocchio. So I became obsessed. And so I started cosplaying as Pinocchio for a long time, and I was obsessed with becoming a real boy. I think even back then I knew I wanted to be like everybody else, right? I wanted to be normal. My family super loved me and just said, oh, he's a little weird, and he just really likes to draw. And that's when I kind of realized, hey, maybe I'm not like the other kids. And my dad would always ask me, why do you love to draw? And I would always answer the same, I don't know. And my dad would smile and go, I like that answer. So these are my regular little kid drawings, 6 years old. This is what I drew, my first nude. I was just obsessed with drawing. I saw Michael Jackson's Thriller, and it really affected me. I became obsessed with it. And again, I dressed up as other people because I was trying to fit in. I was trying really hard to be like everybody else. When I was a kid, my dad said, what do you want to do with your life? And I said, I want to be a painter, I want to be a writer, or I want to be a film director. And someone said, that's animation. You get to make paintings move, you get to tell stories, you get to make movies. So my dad, being a Mexican dad, goes, find the hardest school in the world for that. And if you can get in, then maybe I'll let you go into that. So I found out about this school called CalArts, founded by Walt Disney, big animation school. I called the school, and they said, bring figure drawings and bring animation drawings. And I had no idea what those two things meant. So I drew Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse and Bart Simpson, all this stuff. So I go get my portfolio checked by CalArts. This is the head of the experimental animation program. He's Hungarian. Jules Engel, legend of animation. Disney, UPA, Fantasia, just incredible talent. He looked at my portfolio and he said, this is crap. This is all crap. He goes, a copy machine could have done this. You have no voice. You say nothing. And he was Hungarian, thick accent. He talked like Yoda. He goes, an artist you are not. So he closed my portfolio. He says all this really mean stuff to me. And then as I leave, I left my painting portfolio, and he goes, hey, sad boy, come back. And he goes, what is this? And I'm like, oh, it's a painting about this lady who had an affair with a coyote, and it's about the border in Mexico and the US. And he starts laughing, and he goes, next. And I keep showing him all these different paintings. And he asked me questions like, what does each one mean? What does it all mean? And he goes, you son of a bitch. He goes, why you not show me this? And I said, well, because I didn't think this was animation. And he goes, you're a stupid boy. He goes, this is your voice. And he asked me exactly what my dad asked me. Why did you do these paintings? And I said, I don't know. And he smiled, just like my dad, and he goes, you're an artist. That's why. So that was it. I got in, and he told me right there on the spot, he said, I like how you see the world, and you see it differently. So that made a big impression on me. I got in there. I could just focus and work harder than most people. So I graduated in 2001 from CalArts. I finished my student short. It won the student Emmy, and I got to go to the Cannes Film Festival. At that point, I was like, oh my God, being different is the thing that's making me stronger and better. So I just kept going. An agent immediately signed me and said, hey, can you turn this into a movie? So he sends me all over town, this is 2001, to pitch the Book of Life. And every film studio told me the same thing. No one wants to see a film about dead Mexicans. So I went to DreamWorks, Disney, Universal, Warner. I went everywhere. And then, as time was running out, I started seeing all these super crappy internet cartoons. And I said, oh my God, I can do a crappy internet cartoon too. So after spending 3 years on a student short, I spent maybe 3 weeks making this little short. It went online, it got 20,000 views in one night, which back, like for today, it would be like 2 million views. It was crazy. And the place where I did my internship called me up and said, we love your little short. How much did it cost? And in my head, I was like, well, it costs nothing, so $16,000. And they said, I don't know where that number came from. And they said, we want to buy 30 of these. And at that point, I was like, oh my God, I get to make a TV show, internet cartoon. We made it. And then, boom, they canceled the show. And I remember being in the studio when they shut down that division, and I was the only person with a giant smile. And at the end, when the HR people interview you, they were like, why are you so happy? Like, we're laying you off. And I was like, but you guys spent literally thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars to make me better. And I can't wait to see what I do with all this new knowledge you gave me. Thank you. And they were like, are you going to kill us? So bring it, Hollywood. So ride or die, we keep going. We had 3 more shows in development, right? Because at this point I felt, well, we had one show. Let's just keep pitching. And every time I pitched a show and it got rejected, I would be the guy who would ask, well, can you tell me what I could do to make this better? Like, I never took it personal. And so that's allowed me to survive, emotionally in all these things. Because in our industry, Guillermo del Toro always talks about how you have to have the endurance of a boxer, but the heart of a poet, right? So that's a really complicated thing to balance in both hands. So after those 3 pilots getting killed, guess what the 4th pilot was? El Tigre. If you really break down El Tigre, and you really break down anything I've ever done, they're always about someone who doesn't fit in. As I look back on all that stuff, I'm like, I think all my stuff is about being on the spectrum, and all my characters are on the spectrum, because I don't know how to not be on the spectrum. I have no point of reference, right? As you guys can see, it came out, it was a huge hit back then. 3.4 million views is a huge number for that era. So this is the most Emmys a show has ever won for one season in the history of Nickelodeon. And we said, oh my God, we made it. And then they canceled the show. And again, when they told us the show was canceled, I was super happy. And they were like, do you understand we canceled your show? I'm like, yeah. Why are you happy? I'm like, because again, now you spent millions and millions of dollars to make our thing, and I can't wait to see what I do with all this new knowledge you've given me. And again, they asked, are you going to kill us now? My wife was pregnant at that point, and I remember my dad saying to me, all right, because, tough dad. He goes, what are you going to do now? You're going to be a father. And I said, oh, Dad, well, I'm gonna be more conservative. I'm going to take less risks. I'm going to try to go for more sure things, more stability, because I have a baby on the way. And his reaction was, Jorge, he goes, did I raise a coward? And I was like, what? That's the C word in Mexico, right? I was like, what? And he's like, any success you've ever had was because you took risks. If you stop taking risks now because you're going to have a baby, what kind of example are you to that kid? You're going to set yourself up for failure. If anything goes wrong, you're going to blame your family. And you're going to blame your son, unconsciously. So if anything, now's the time for more risk-taking. There's more at stake now. And my mustache grew 5 inches at that point. I powered up. And then a studio from Dallas out of nowhere, who they've never made a movie, they're like, hey, we heard about your movie you quit at DreamWorks. We don't have that much money, but we can make a low-budget version of that movie. All you have to do is move to Texas, and I've never been to Texas, and work in a studio that has never made a movie. So all my friends here in LA were like, you are insane for doing this. and you have a baby. And I remember talking to my dad, and my dad was like, what kind of son did I raise? And I was like, we're off to Texas. So we go to Texas. They gave us a year to write the script, a year to develop all the characters. We worked crazy hard again. We did maquettes of what the characters would look like, huge lineups. You know, there's 3 worlds: the land of the living, the land of the remembered, which is basically the land of the dead, and then the land of the forgotten. So this is sort of the pitch for the movie. Halfway through production, we ran out of money. And also, Luca, my son, was diagnosed with autism. I did not know I was on the spectrum back then. It fueled me. I was like, I have to be even more badass, and I have to work even harder, and I have to try even more. So we just kept working on the movie, and it almost worked to focus me more. Tried to make the movie look like paintings. That was kind of the intent from the beginning. So movie comes out. I go on tour to promote the movie all over the world. This is the premiere. I don't even remember the premiere. I was so overwhelmed. All the actors showed up. I got Danny Trejo to kiss me, which was one of my dreams. Zoe Saldana was, I believe, 8 months pregnant, and she actually showed up to the premiere, which was a huge deal. Movie comes out all over the world. It only won 1 Annie, but it was nominated for a bunch of them. And I felt like, all the hardship, all the struggle just made me stronger. And my dad kept saying to me, look, Jorge, when you're born, you were born a puma. This is where El Tigre came from, right? And he goes, every experience you had in your life is a stripe, and you become a tiger. By the time you die, I want you to be a panther, because I want you to experience everything. And every stripe, good or bad, mean the same, right? Because you learn nothing from success. You learn from failure. So fail. Fail as much as you can and fail hard, and you will end up a panther. And so again, take all these things to heart. So we made the movie, thank you, Book of Life. And then at 40 years old, I'm diagnosed on the spectrum. When my kid was 2.5, we decided, hey, there's something happening with our son. We get him tested. Sure enough, he's high-functioning autistic. And my parents' reaction at that time were, no, he's not autistic. And we're like, why not? And my dad said, because he's exactly like you. And that's when I was like, what? You're like the world, like. And he's like, yeah, you didn't talk till you were 5. And I remember being held back in school 2 years. Like, I remember how different I was. And so I said, well, I should get tested. So I finally got tested. I got diagnosed. I was diagnosed with 2E, twice exceptional. There are things I'm really good at, and there are obviously things I'm really bad at. I've been masking my whole life, right? I just assumed that's what everybody did. I create characters of myself when I meet people, right? So, and a lot of people do that. And, normal, regular people are different versions of themselves when they meet their significant other, or when they're with their parents, or when in a job interview. Like, everybody becomes someone else to get the thing they need. We just do it differently, right? So I'm a really good student of humanity. So I'm constantly studying people. And it's very convenient for animation, because that's kind of what we do. We give life to inanimate things. The things that I'm really good at is I can just focus. I can hyper-focus, right? So I can sit down and look at something and work on it for 8 hours, not go to the bathroom, not stand up, which is dangerous too. Because if I'm not careful, I can just work forever and literally work myself to death. So it's been a balance learning how to use these talents. And people think it's a cliche, but to me, it is a superpower. And I obviously can't speak for anybody else. I can only speak for me. But this superpower has weaknesses, right? Just like all great superheroes, right? So it's been a thing that's propelled me. And this difference obviously has made me who I am. So Google hires me to do a virtual reality short. And I said, I'm going to do something about Mexican wrestling, because putting on the virtual reality goggles feels like a Mexican wrestling mask. And I remembered as a kid being taken to a bullfight, which I hated. And this bullfighter got hit, and his leg went flying. And I didn't know it was a prosthetic leg, by the way. And so I think I was the only kid in the whole thing screaming, oh my God! And they're like, it's a prosthetic leg. And then the bullfighter, his name was Iglesias, he stood up with one leg, and he kept bullfighting with one leg. And my dad was like, Jorge, look what he can do with one leg. What are you gonna do in life with 2 legs? Like, every opportunity my dad had to like beat me down with like inspiration. It was kind of amazing. It was his talent. And I said, that's it. I'm going to do a virtual reality short about a Mexican wrestler who's missing a leg. And he has this family, right, a baby and a little kid, and he's over the hill. A very tragic short, again, it's on YouTube. So this was really about autism, right? So for me, I felt like I was that wrestler, and I felt like, well, I'm autistic, and I have a son who's autistic, and maybe I'm done for. Maybe this is too much to carry on myself. And then what happens in the short is he realizes he's missing a leg, right? He's not like other people. But he has a son who's special. And so in the short, the son puts on a special mask, and the son becomes his leg. And so together, they're even stronger. And that's basically what the short was about. It was like, even when you think you're missing a thing, there's other things that make you stronger. In 2018, we go to Netflix. Netflix series animation calls me up. I said, I'm ready to fight. I'm ready to join the battle. I pitched this crazy Lord of the Rings 3 movie, giant epic called Maya and the Three. It took 2 years to make 3 movies. We did it with probably 25% of the budget of a giant movie. So again, super smart about how we use that. And I think, again, as an artist on the spectrum, I get to think about the whole thing and how much time and money things cost. 70 Emmy Award nominations. It won 2 Emmys, including the big one, which is the best show. It was top 10 in 55 countries in the world. It wins 4 out of 5 Emmys. I stabbed myself in the eye. I was so excited. So thank you, Maya. In conclusion, I know people define being on the spectrum in very different ways, but for me, I really believe we do think differently. And I do think thinking different is a strength. And honestly, in history, all the big leaps happened when someone thought differently. It didn't happen because someone thought the same, right? So, and if you look back historically, more than likely, a lot of the life and history makers are probably neurodivergent, right? We just didn't know. And so my talk is called Fighting with Autism, right? But I don't fight against autism. I fight with autism, right? It's like literally, it's a part of me. It makes me who I am. And as someone who was obsessed with Pinocchio, and Pinocchio, if you watch that movie, he's obsessed with becoming a real boy. And the journey is what made him a real boy. It wasn't the reward. So I like to say thank you, autism, for making me a real boy.